Today we're going to talk about the 10th principle. We've already talked about 10 principles for the beginning of gardening. And the 10th principle today is picture taking. And it's kind of like the beginning of the start of a beautiful garden that you're going to have, because you started with a picture of your house, and we're going to go through. You're going to have to see your garden in its worst, and that's the best, because then you're going to see where it's going to go. And that's what we're going to do today.
So I'm going to go with our first picture, and this is an old house that I bought in 1996. And so you can see, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You can drum up an old picture if you wanted to look and see, oh, I liked my house when it looked like this. But this is how we bought this house. And I had to look over it. The first thing that you would want to do with your picture is evaluate what you love about the house when you bought it. I loved it because I love the yellow and the white trim. The yellow houses are my favorite. So I bought this house. If you look at the awning, it was already coming apart, and so we had to take that down right away, including the lattice in front of it. So basically it was sort of just a rectangle house, no design on it. It just a plain old house. It was what we could do with the budget we had, and I loved the house. I thought it was cute as a button, but there was some structural things. So that's the first thing you may want to mark down in your notebook when you are doing this picture, the hardscape. And that is, I would want to take down that awning. Then the second thing you'd want to do is look at your trees and the shrubs that you get. In my opinion, and what I thought of, I didn't like that the house was blocked. I love, if you're going to buy a cute little house, I like that to be the show. So I ended up taking out all 3 shrubs. A few of them were crepe myrtles. The other ones was a Japanese maple, which I didn't want to take out, but I didn't have a place for it at the time, and it was actually kind of dying because it was in the full sun. And over on this side, it has I think that looks like a crepe myrtle that somebody chopped down. That's what that looks like. I don't remember anymore, but I took that out too as well. But there was one crepe myrtle that I wanted to save, and it's the one that you can see in the middle of the house, right next to the house. But I don't know how we did this, but my husband and a bunch of neighbors, we took our truck and we moved that out, and we moved it to a different position, and I'll show you that in the next picture. And so I try to pick out 3 things you don't want on the house and in the garden, and then take those out first, and then take another picture and then see where you can evaluate what needs to be done next. Now, I don't have a second picture to show you where there was an interim, because these are some old pictures. I just wanted you to see how you can get from here and then an after picture of what I ended up doing. So in the end, I ended up changing the color of the roof. So that's what I would call hardscape. That's not part of the garden, but it's part of the whole home and the feeling of that house. And now I put on cloth awning instead of another wooden awning. And that kind of opened up the door, and it invites you to the direction of the sidewalk coming right to the door. It was really cute having that little awning. It just made me feel, oh, it's sort of cottagey, small house, but absolutely loved it. I put on the red mulch because I wanted to accentuate the top roof part of the house. And then, if you remember in the first picture, I changed the shutters to green. And the green shutters, I thought, added charm. So you have the green and yellow awning. I changed the green shutters that kind of popped against the yellow. And then, now look at the landscape. I moved the crepe myrtle. As you saw, it was over really messed up in the first picture right here. And I moved it, and you look in the new picture, we moved it all the way over to this side and added a little bit of shade. It actually got a lot bigger than that. And then I added a few shrubs, and you could see the house. And so it's sort of, you can see how anything large don't try to block your whole house, but put it towards the side. And that sort of gives you breathing space for your home, and it shows up your home as well as the shrub. Now, one of these shrubs got a little bit big, but by that time we were selling the house, so I don't know what the people who bought the house was, but that one, if I had stayed there a couple more years, that would have been one of them I would have taken out because it was blocking the view of this window. And so you want to make sure that all your windows can be seen. If they get too big, this is what happens in 10 years. So a lot of times you'll pick a shrub and it worked for a long time, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I can't see out my window. That's one of them that would later on go out. But you got to remember that gardening never ends. So even if you got a landscaper who did this whole thing for you and it was done instantly, all these plants would have gotten way out of hand quicker, and then you would end up taking them out earlier. So I got 9 years out of this house, and it relaxed feel. One large tree in the front, it anchored the whole place, a little awning, and it transformed this little house from here to there. Okay, this is the second house that has a before and after. The pictures are old, from 2005. We bought this house. It's a grander house. You can see that this is a brick home. It had a light beige brick, and it was nice. The roof was new. The hardscape on the house, I thought, was pretty good. I didn't change too much. I think I painted the doors, and you can't tell in this picture, but it's red. I think I made it more cherry red because it was sort of stuck in a hole, and it didn't pop. So I painted it a bright cherry red. Okay, so then house is good. So now we're going to work on the bushes and the trees. So when you look at this picture, it was a square box house. I thought the shrubs in this picture, and I thought they were all old. If you looked inside of them, they were all dead inside. So they looked pretty good, but they were on their way out. So they were probably 20 years old. And as much as I kind of liked the frame of them, and they were in good spots, not covering a window, don't cover your windows, they were on their last legs. What I did is I took everything out. So I had somebody come in, because even though I was, 30, 35, that was a lot of work. And I took out everything. It was a clean slate. So everything in this picture was gone. So what I decided to do in making the home, I kind of told you in the last principle that you don't really want to cover up your beautiful home that you just bought. In this case, here's what happened. Principle number 5 is compass. And this house is facing direct west. And every window that you see, 2 bedrooms, the door, the 2 windows on the right side of that door were living room, dining room, and 2 bedrooms, and they were boiling hot all day long, and no one wanted to be on that whole side of the house. I mean, it was a large house, and every room on this side was boiling hot unless it was winter. So in this case, I decided I wanted big trees to give us shade and to help cool down the house, because the air conditioner could not keep up with this large home. So I decided, and I think you can barely see it, but there are baby maples that I started out with in the grass, and I put 2 on the outside of the property, which I think you'll see in another picture that I have. So they were babies, and it took a little while. We had this house for 11 years, so we got to see these grand trees shade the house in about 5 years. We're all older now. We all think, well, I don't have time to go and see this tree develop, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that. But my neighbor who lived right next door to this home said the same thing, and he never put one in because he said the same thing, I won't be there to enjoy it. But what happened is mine grew into these beautiful trees. He's still alive. He had no trees in his property, and my house was glorious with these trees. In about 5 years, these maples made this house shady, a park-like in the front. It was a beautiful design of gardening in the front. So I started with, I'll show you interim picture. So different time of the day, but you can see this is one of the outer trees, and then you can see the other tree. It mirrors on both sides of the house. So there were 2 on the outside and 2 in the center, because I wanted them as close as I could get to the house to shade the house. And you can't really see it. It's very, very small, but there's a crepe myrtle covering the screen because we used to sit inside this. It was like a little porch. And again, the west side of the sun was, you couldn't sit out there. So I put a crepe myrtle that ended up being about 10 feet tall, and it made a nice shady side of that house. And for me, this house, all it was about is the front of the house was on the west. It needed help with lots and lots of beautiful shade. So you can see all the shrubs. I basically put the ones that have kind of a color, a mixed color variegation. Those were all Nandinas. I think I put 3 in a clump. And in the center, where there was a large wall, I put knockout roses, which they all say 3 to 3. And since I had this experience with knockouts before, these grew 8 feet. So it basically covered that whole empty wall. So that made that space fill in. And I believe there was a nice boxwood that was going to go into a point later on. And so that filled that. So even though these kind of look interim, I think this was within a year. And based on those trees, this was probably 2-year picture of everything that I put in this home. So 10 years later, you can see the trees developed. They shaded the house beautifully. It had a park-like look. If you look in the background, that crepe myrtle is nice. I think it was almost 15 feet. It shaded beautifully that screened-in porch. The 2 windows you see that were reflecting the living room and the dining room were always in the shade. Once the sun went down to that hard west, now this picture doesn't show it as well, but the color that I put on the doors, even though it's cherry, this picture is a little bit light. Now you can see that I actually added, the sidewalk was already there when we bought the home, but I added this little brick thing because in my opinion, since I had to mow the grass, I did not want to go in a circle with the trees. So what I did is I found some bricks in the backyard and I just made a shape that would make it to where I could mow around the tree and move on out, and it made it to where it was easier. So some parts of your design is you want to make sure how is the mowing pattern going to be, and is that going to be easy for me, because we want to make our design easy. You'll notice that I have really easy plants. There's Nandinas that have now grown up, and you can see that even after 11 years they're not even at the top of the window. So all the shrubs that you pick, it really doesn't matter what shrub you pick. Read the labels. Most windows are about 3 feet tall, and stay with something that's 2 to 3 feet, so that even 11 years later, I didn't have to pull out those Nandinas. I think there's 3 Nandinas to a clump, and in the center is a rose bush, and that's the knockout, and that's probably midsummer, so about the middle of the summer, that would go almost to the top of that wall. Other than that, there were the liriopes, which are cut it back in February and it comes back every year and it has a stately look. This house was a real stately house. Everybody loved going by here. It had a cool, shady, beautiful frontage because the house alone, even though it was beautiful, the brickwork is really nice, it didn't have a whole lot of curves and shapes. So in this case, I broke the rules about not wanting to block your home. I did limb up those trees, as you can see, as high as I could do it. I could almost not barely cut anymore. And so you could still see the full, you couldn't see the roof, but you saw the full front view. So I just want to show you a side part of that screen. This is that crepe myrtle. This wasn't quite how tall it got, but you can see how cute it was. And I just put a few annuals, geraniums, and you could see some petunias, crepe myrtles in the front of that, a boxwood that kind of anchored everybody. And you can see those nandinas on the left side. And a few other, I don't know, I can't really see them from here. They look like some roses that I put in. So in the end, what you want to do is, if it's a stately house, you want to repeat your plants. So you can see the nandinas across the board. I put 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, and it echoes that on the other side. So I think I probably had, let's see, add this at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 6 times 3 of one plant, nandina. And that was my stationary plant. That's what I decided. It had a lot of color. It was green in the summer, and then it had this, it turned fiery red in the fall, along with those beautiful maples. They also turned red, and the boxwood, of course, stayed green, and then the rosebush knockout in the summertime had red roses. So it stayed a stately house. I don't know, it just felt really southern plantation kind of cool, really beautiful. And those trees only took 10 years, and they were massive. They were probably twice as big as that home. So here's some ideas. If I can help you with yours, I would love for you to send me a picture of your before picture, and maybe we could go through one of your pictures in the future. If you'll send me the beginning, we can kind of maybe dissect what my thoughts would be, and you could take that and add it to what you would think, no, I wouldn't do that, but I want to do that. So if you did send me something, make sure you send me the position, your compass, what position you're in, what zone you're in, so I know what kind of plants that you may enjoy. Yeah, if you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, because I want to know if it's dry or humid, and also if we can just get a few pointers, and it may just help you to kind of go, ooh, I hadn't thought about that, and maybe you'll just go, whoa, I would never do that, and that's fine. Like I said, this is the home that we got, and it's something that we liked. Somebody else may not like the nandinas, or they don't like big trees because they don't want to do raking. I mean, it's your home. Make it beautiful. Make it something that you want to come home to, and I think you'll love the transition. And it's also fun to see from the beginning and grow up with it. And so we will do this again. I have a few more houses that I actually moved in and out of, and I'll give you some before and afters of those, and kind of just keep helping you. Like I said, if you want to put your ideas and send me a photo of your home, give me as much information, maybe a few. Make sure you turn your phone sideways. It's the best way I can. It's hard for me to get it on screen when it's upright, but try to do it sideways, and give me several views of the same place that you want to work on. Not the whole house, but maybe just let's focus on the front. The front usually that's the most important, so let's work on that first. You don't want to do the whole house all at once. Keep moving, keep gardening, and we'll see you next time.